Let's see. First of all, thanks. Where are you? Amélia, Rodrigo, where are you? Guys. Okay, thank you for the invitation and thanks to Salle for hosting us. I'll try to stick to the hour. Okay, they told me 1 hour. Usually you will see that sometimes talk too much. Okay, so I'll try to squeeze it into the time. Let's see, what time is it, please?
19.
20. Okay, 20 past. Give me 1 more.
Here's 19.
Okay. See, another thing. Of course, do whatever you want, but I would advise not to take notes. Okay, just relax. Enjoy. Go to the movies. Okay, I'm not going to say anything, any sentence that would change your life or anything specific that it's worth writing. Just keep the atmosphere. Okay, that's the important thing. Okay. Let's see. Amélia already said Anna is from Finland. I'm from Barcelona. We've been for quite many years already in the world of architecture, as you can see from the color of my beard. So we have a lot of projects, but today I'm going to show you just 10 projects from the last more or less 7 years, okay, a selection of projects, of build projects, okay? You will see that we have a way of depicting that it's, maybe characteristic. This is a way of being optimistic, actually. We usually draw our projects and competitions, etc., via these handmade drawings that actually are made by Anna. And this is a way to somehow leave the future open. We doubt a lot, okay? When you are designing something, there are many things that are not clear. And when you do a competition, for us it's very difficult to say exactly how the project will be. So many times what we do is that we just do a kind of a drawing that can be finished in different ways in the mind of whoever is looking at that drawing. Okay, before explaining these projects, which actually I'm not going to explain the projects, I will tell this, but anyway, let me just introduce a thought that has been in our mind for many years, that it's about what is actually our most precious tool when we design, when we are working in architecture. And we usually think that it's space, that we deal with space. And it's true, yeah, of course we deal with space. But there is one thing that for us it's maybe more important, which is time. And I'm trying to just make a short introduction of that, so that when you see the projects, you always have this in mind. Let's see. I don't know if it ever happened to you. It happened when we studied, that we used to look at like traditional architecture, vernacular architecture, and we thought, hey, come on, guys, this is perfect. How is it that the Haimas in Morocco are so aerodynamic that they can be mounted and demounted so easily? How is it that the Orrios in Galicia are so perfect and they use the local stone and they elevate the grain so that the animals don't go there? Who thought of that? Who studied architecture, okay, for 6, 7, 8 years, went to Porto Academy in Barcelona, did so many courses, masters, etc.? Who was it? Because at that time, this didn't exist. And the answer is that it's time for this, okay? Probably the first Haima that was built in the desert was gone with the wind, okay? And the person who had that Haima probably thought that, okay, if I pull from this string, if I put this like that, if I turn to this direction, probably it will work. And hundreds and thousands of years after, the Haima is the perfection of a portable dwelling in the desert. Okay, and this is, with all the rest, these are images from the Rudowski, which I guess that you, well, I'm going to say this. I was going to say that you all know, but actually I saw that we have some students that are from the very first year, and even students who have not started architecture yet. So I will maybe over-explain some things for them, okay, especially for them. Okay, so with this, having this in mind, what is our role as designers? Our role, in a way, and that's very beautiful to think it like that, is that we are the substitute of time. Because as we don't have thousands and thousands of years to try and error and to test our buildings or our projects, as we don't have that time, we have to substitute it by designing. And when we design, what we are doing, this is our romantic way of seeing it, what we are doing is we are traveling to the future to check the designs that we have on the table. We travel with our mind, of course, go there, we check, oh no, this is not working, oh no, this could be better. We come back to the present and keep on working. Right? So every sketch that we do, every drawing that we throw away, it is a trip to the future. But at the same time, we are traveling to the past, because every now and then we say, hey, wait a second, how did this guy solve it 200 years ago? And then we go to the past, we check how the solutions were made, and come back to the present. So actually, designing is basically time traveling. So time is our most precious tool. And then the space, it's some kind of a consequence. Okay? If we think in this way, if we think putting time before space, what we are doing is that we are putting more effort in imagining the actions and the life that will take place in those designs. Okay, and that's the important thing. It's not that important how the project looks like, even if nowadays we are in a culture that is very image oriented. Okay, everything is like, and you don't know what you are pressing like, and maybe it's just something that is absolutely horrible and you're putting like. Okay, but anyway, so time travelers, no, it's quite a nice idea to think that we have the capacity to travel. To travel in time, okay? So with this idea in mind, I will explain just 10 projects. I will go very fast because more than explaining the project itself, what I want to explain is themes that come in our conversations with Anna or in the office, themes that come to our mind like uselessness, highlighting continuity, etc., etc. I will explain those themes via these 10 projects, okay? Okay, and the first one is uselessness. Let's see. We have put these books in the very beginning because we think that books are still the best source of knowledge. Okay, I know you are young guys, you might think that books are dead. I mean, I can find everything in internet. Yeah, in internet you can find very well how to make a cocktail molotov, okay? But if you want really good information, usually you have to go somewhere else, okay? Usually, of course, you can find interesting things there as well. But this is a book by Nucci Ordine, Italian professor of literature, that it's called L'utilità dell'inutile, the usefulness of the useless, okay? And what it says basically is that we are living in times that the important things in life are not taken into consideration because we are in an absolutely neoliberal capitalistic society that only gives importance to the things that gives an economic revenue, okay? And he says that actually the most important things in life are not those ones, but are the ones that are more intangible, like philosophy, like the classics in his case, the classics in literature, or like many things, the arts, etc. Because he says that those things are actually the ones that turn us into better people. And those are the important things. But society doesn't think like that. Society usually only thinks that things that gives you money are the important things, okay? So in architecture, we have this idea, or in our office, of thinking of things, or of designing things that at first glance may seem useless, and actually many times they are the most important, okay? Because they are the ones that give meaning and that help to solve many things, okay? This is a project in Barcelona, in Horta, that you can go to see. It's an apartment building, 3 different apartments in a neighborhood that is very characteristic, that has this kind of language, okay? This is photos that we took before starting the project to analyze what's the language of the neighborhood, and we saw that actually the language, the words, the literature, in a way that it's worked here, it's composed by these elements, okay? Very somehow traditional elements. And what we do is that, okay, if we are talking this language in this area, let's use the same language, but let's just adapt it to the to the contemporary times, okay? And you see that our project is the one that is appearing here. What it does is basically talking the language of the neighborhood, okay? The balconies are the typical balconies, the plinth is the plinth, the blinds, everything is already there. But there is one guy, one window that seems that it's lost, okay? The useless window that is, okay, what is this window doing here? But actually this window is doing a very specific and very important work, which is the following. In this neighborhood, there is one guy, that is this guy, here, that was built, oops, what did I do? Okay, that was built at the end of the 60s, that doesn't follow any of the rules of the good neighborhood in this street, okay? It doesn't continue the alignment. It uses brick, which is something that, as you saw in the previous photographs, it's a material that it's not of this neighborhood. It's not doing the proportion, the vertical proportion of the balcony. No balconies. I mean, it's come on, guy, and what are you doing? I mean, very rude neighbor. Okay, we have two options: go at night, put some dynamite, and explode it. Okay, which is a radical solution, maybe too much. But the other one is, okay, how can we solve this guy? How somehow can we forgive this guy and say, bah, come on, come with us, we forgive you, you are welcome again to being one of the cityscape. How can we do it from our plot? And the way to do it is via that window, okay? In this to the right, the building continues the height and the proportion, everything. And in this side, what we do is that by placing this balcony, what we are doing is accepting again the root neighbor that was doing all what you shouldn't do in this neighborhood. Then there are ideas of a floor plan that allows to change the rooms and to allow the user to decide how they want to live, but maybe now I won't go into that. And well, and then some details and then this is this new room that is up there in on the roof that it's for all the neighbors, and where you can somehow feel as if you were inside. Okay? Well, and then some small details that, well, if small touch to the whole thing. Okay, on highlighting, let's see. Here we brought a book that is the catalog of an exhibition of John Baldessari. This is one of his paintings, okay, Pure Beauty. Okay? This is one of the paintings of John Baldessari, conceptual artist, that we very much enjoy, especially because of his sense of humor. Sense of humor is healthy, but it's very dangerous, okay, especially in architecture. Okay? If you explain a joke once, it may be funny. If you are explaining the joke every day, one time after another, it may be horrible. Okay, so you have to be very careful with that. And the same thing in art. Okay, so usually sense of humor has to be something very precise and very well thought. Okay, here it's not the feature of humor of Baldessari, but the feature of highlighting, of how to transform a place just by highlighting some spots. No, if you have in mind any of the works of Baldessari, for example, with those dots, with those color dots that he puts in many of the photographs or paintings. Okay, so this is a project of a conversion of an old chocolate factory in the north of Barcelona, north of Spain, village called La Bisbal. This is the site, and here we found a building that is this one that was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely, I mean, you didn't have to do anything. 3 floors, the 3 floors were all open because it was a factory, okay? In a factory, you don't divide the spaces. Here there was people working, just windows, and that's it. And the beautiful thing of the space was that the 3 slabs, the 3 roofs, ceilings, were made in 3 different techniques, okay? One with Catalan wall, one with very beautiful wooden beams, and the other one with these more like trunks or more rough beams at the end. And the commission was to turn it into a house for a special guy with lots of children, remarried 2 times, a new wife with lots of children. The children had already boyfriends, girlfriends, so it had to be a house for one person and at the same time, it had to be a house for 25 people. Okay, and it's like, okay, how do you deal with that? Okay, well, maybe I will see. If I explain too much, we will never end. But basically, a floor plan all open. Okay, that's easy. Okay, the ground floor plan all open. It's easy because we have the big kitchen, living room, etc. But then the rooms, of course, you have to divide them because I mean, your children when they have a couple, okay, usually they want some privacy, right? So we have to close the rooms. And what we do, you will see, it's a special trick to close the rooms, so divide the space, but at the same time still being able to enjoy the whole ceiling all at once. Okay, you will see that. And then the upper floor, it's kind of a special apartment for him, just to, to forget about all the rest of the family. And in this case, what we did is that everything was in its place. Okay, so it is an effort of doing as little as possible. Because when everything is okay, sometimes you just have to say, hey, do you know what? You don't need me. I mean, just put your bed here and that's it. So, for example, this is a house that it's around almost 600 square meters. Okay, so quite a big house. And this is the main door of the house. Okay, you enter from here, which usually, a client usually would say that, hey, come on, give me a door that shows, what you will find behind. But in this case, it was beautiful to keep it like that, because what we want to say is that we haven't done anything, and that this is still a chocolate factory. So the door is very small, and then what we did is playing with these tricks. Okay, I don't know if this is sense of humor or I don't know, some Duchampian, talk that we have. That then what we do is to take a street light, okay, and just put it on top. Somehow subverting the typical way of doing this, that usually you have a big door that says, hey, I have a big house, and then you have a small lamp on top just to give some light when you come at night and you are looking for keys. So here we subvert, and it's a big lamp, okay, and a very small door. And what we do is that everything that we touch or that we redo, we paint it with this green, we highlight it with this green color that is a green traditional color of the area and the village. So we redid the porch that was quite knocked down. So all the structure, the canopy up there, it's in with this green color, somehow saying that, hey, we have touched this. These were windows, okay, you can still see a little bit that there are these marks. These were windows because in a factory, why do you need this connection with the outdoors? You don't need it. And then we opened them, so we changed them. We redid the windows up there, so we paint them with green, etc., etc. So it's a kind of way of saying that, hey, I try to do as little as possible, and I show you the things that I touch so that you get an image of how it was before we got here. Okay, and then, well, inside many kitchens. He asked for 5 kitchens, and we're like, but guy, come on, what's wrong with you? I mean, can't you walk a little bit? He wanted 5 kitchens. Okay, and this is a new stair because there's an idea of moving through the house without finding your children. Okay, you will understand that at some point. Okay, now that we have already children that they are teenagers, you will understand. Now you might think that, oh, well, what's wrong with that? No, there's a moment that you don't want to find. Okay. This is the original stair that we leave as it is. Of course, it doesn't follow any regulation, but and so what. And this is the idea of these rooms. The rooms are kind of cells, a little bit like a monastery. But then when you are in the room, you don't see your neighbors. But when you walk through the corridor, you have the glass on top so that all the light from the windows gets to the corridor, and also the bathrooms that are here. I don't know if you saw the floor plan. It's quite characteristic because there are as many rooms as toilets. The light gets into the toilets, okay, natural light also to the toilets. And the important thing why we did this is that when you walk through the floor plan, you can always see the whole roof as if it was a continuous, so you get the image of how the factory was at that time. Okay, on continuity. Okay, here we brought, these are suggestions for enjoying life, okay? The books and the things that we bring here. And this is the way things go. It's a piece of art. It's an installation by Fischli & Weiss that actually you can find in YouTube. You will love it. You will love it. It's a chain reaction, okay? Very rough and very dirty. And it's just, I don't know, what, 5-10 minutes, no? Something like that, no? 20? Yeah? Okay. Well, you will enjoy it. And it explains about this idea on continuity by things that are actually very different. Okay? So this is a project we did in Mulot. Mulot is the RCR town, okay? That's their country, okay? And actually, it's a boulevard, a very big boulevard in the very center of Mulot, like the main boulevard of Mulot. There was a competition, we won. And the thing is that here there is a smaller boulevard that was designed by RCR, okay? With an idea of continuing and making the whole city in a certain way. The whole thing was stopped many years ago. We talked to them and said that, hey, guys, we won this competition. Is it okay? I mean, do you mind if we touch a little bit what you did 20 years ago? They said, relax, it's okay, don't worry. And the whole story here is this boulevard, it's defined by the buildings that surround it, okay? So what we do is here, where it's open, we cut the pavement, okay, because it continued a little bit more, so that we define very well what is the boulevard of Firalet, okay? This is called El Firalet. And this, which is the Firal, that it's the main boulevard, we do the same strategy, so that we have two pieces that are this and this one, that are very well marked in a way, and it is crossed by a street that already existed. We do the square, and a street that already existed with this concrete floor with basalt arid, because this is a very volcanic area, okay? So basalt is the stone, okay? You show a basalt to a person in a lot and they get goosebumps, okay? So this is kind of a magma that crosses, that doesn't have a shape because the streets are these kind of old streets. And then we have the two boulevards that are very well defined. So this is our project, the boulevard plus the square and this area at the end. And here we did the whole thing. We designed these lamps, specific lamps, because the Firalet had specific lamps designed by RCR, which gave a certain kind of an identity to that area. So we do the same thing with the other one, establishing a dialogue. And then what we do is that in the area of the floor plan of the Firal, of the boulevard, that there are no buildings, we somehow build an abstract facade with this lamp portico that somehow continues the line of the building, so that we define the space not only with the pavement but also with this. And this portico is the one that allows people to enter the new square where they do all the feasts in the village, and where, I mean, if you want craziness, you go to the feasts of Mulot and you will see what it is. Okay. Well, then working with the concrete and with the basalt, the stone, and then at the end of the Firal we have this fountain, because they asked for a fountain, and a fountain is tricky, okay, especially in this country, because fountains usually they are off, okay, because we don't have water and we think that we are rich. Okay, in Spain we have a problem. We think that we are rich and we are not, okay, and we know somehow, but we want to forget it, okay? So fountains in a country that doesn't have water, maybe it's not the best idea, okay? But they wanted a fountain. So we thought that, okay, how do you design a fountain that when it's off, it doesn't look like a fountain that doesn't work? Or like an abandoned fountain, which is the worst thing that you can see, no? A fountain that has no water is like, come on guys, didn't you know that you don't have water? But anyway. So what we did is this end, it's a kind of I don't know if you call it a sculpture, but it's a landmark, an end at the very end of the Firal that allows you to cross, it allows you to see, but it's somehow pointing this point. Then when it's on, it gives this steam, this water, that what it's doing actually, it's an area to bring the temperature down, okay? In the Firal, we have the existing trees, okay? But in this area, what we have is the water that somehow cools the air. And in summer, it's a place that you can be, and the kids can play, etc., etc. Okay, and that's it at the end of the boulevard. And then working with the basalt, okay, for example, to guide the cars, instead of putting signs and these that, I mean, just put a big stone in, for sure the car won't be able to pass. Okay, on making a place, that's not easy, making a place. And actually, another recommendation, okay, Charles Moore, The Place of Houses. Beautiful, beautiful book on one thing that was one of his obsessions, that was how to make a place, which may seem very obvious, but it's not. It's not just a physical thing. It has more than that. and it has an idea of identity. And in this case, this is a project that we did. It's the first phase of a boulevard in Barcelona. The first phase is finished, and we are now working in the second and third. And here, the whole thing is, well, it's this boulevard that starts here, goes till the top. It's in a neighborhood that it's a working class neighborhood, very humble and very powerful. Okay, they have a lot of they have an association that is very strong, and they defend their rights, which is what you should do in this life. And the characteristic of this neighborhood is that it's in a hill. So there are these the whole neighborhood is put in different levels. Okay, and there are these big walls that separate the neighborhood. And our task here was not only to do the boulevard in this direction, but also to connect in the other one, which meant, in this case, to correct and change and add some elevators that allow people to go up and down in the neighborhood without having to go like kilometers, okay? So the first phase is to the left. These are images that we did for the competition. Well, all the images here are from the competition, and this is how it's done. And the whole thing is that as we have a neighborhood that we will have to put these needles, okay, these vertical elements that are the elevators, we thought, how can we do it in a way that these elevators turn into a sign of identity, that they can feel proud of the differentness of their neighborhood in front of the typical elevators that actually the municipality of Barcelona was forcing us to do, that is these glass boxes that we can say, come on guys, glass, hey, this is Spain, it's not Norway, okay, let's not put glass here, you have to clean it, you have to, okay, many things. Of course, we had to leave some windows for safety reasons, but we tried to make them in brick and with these hats, so that somehow when you get to your neighborhood, it's like, okay, now I'm home. Now I recognize this is different. This is my neighborhood, right? Well, and then it's a collection, okay, of these little, I don't know if call them folies, little towers. It's like small skyscrapers in miniature. And what they are doing is that they are helping you to cross, okay, all over. And then some details on well, specific things that allow this identity to be strengthened. On dressing, okay, this is interesting. These are all these words are discussions that we had, okay. And in this case, this was fun because this is a project that it's only 1 square meter. Okay, it's a commission from a client that we worked for them. We did a very big building. Okay, this is in the outskirts of Barcelona. This is a building that we did 12 years ago. It's the headquarters of one of the major banks in Spain. And since we did this project, we work with them. We do some things. We are now doing some interior design in one of the rooms. But they want some improvements. And one of the improvements was the hut for the guard at the entrance of the complex. Okay, huge complex, more than 50,000 square meters was it? The previous was crazy. And they wanted a 1 square meter project. Okay, and it's like, wow, this is fun. Okay? Another one would say, oh no, 1 square meter, I don't do it. And we were like, oh, this is great. Okay, because 1 square meter, what is it that you are designing? Are you designing a building or are you designing a cloth? Where is the border between one thing and the other one? Okay, for example, in this case, this, I don't know, well, maybe I have found people that they don't know who aesthetics and novellics are, but I hope no, okay, but anyway, this is our childhood. And there is one of the books of aesthetics that it's very funny, because this is the last vignette in one of the pages. And you see this cube, and when you see this guy here, okay, this guy, you imagine, okay, as maybe some of you are imagining now, that this guy is very strong, like a big Viking that comes from the north, okay? And then in the next page, when you pass, what you get is this, okay? And this is wonderful, because this coat, what is it? Is it a coat or is it a building? It stands by itself. You can go into it, but you also can move it. Okay, and then we started to think, okay, what is the difference between dressing and building? And then you see that actually the frontier is not that clear. Okay, there are many buildings that move, okay, and there are many clothes that are static, okay, or that are structural. So with this idea in mind, we thought, okay, how do we design something? Because actually the program was, we have one guy here in the entrance in the mornings that he's directing the traffic, but he has to have a place, just a small tummy, because if it rains very hard or if it's too hot, that he can go and be there for a while, have some water and come back. Just that, okay, very easy. So what they were asking us is, give a coat and a hat to this guy, okay, to protect from the sun, to protect from the climate. So that's what we do. We do a coat and a hat that we work, okay, that has some kind of plissé aspect, okay, a little bit reminding the miyake's dresses and many others, okay, and that's it. Basically, this is the hat. You see the hat and the coat, and then you see the building at the end. That it's a building that is also made with this twist or with this plissé idea. And then the whole thing is about just solving a couple of details to make, okay, when you do something so tiny, everything has to be in its place, right? Okay, on climate, another book that is wonderful, that is the Lisa Hedgehog Thermal Delight in Architecture, which is actually a thesis from 1978 that was read in MIT, okay? It's beautiful. And also, you can find the thesis written with typewriter in internet. This very good thing of internet. You find this. You can download it in PDF, okay? But you can also buy the book, which is about, basically the book, what it does is end of 70s. So what it's doing, it's a kind of critique to basically air conditioning and oil consumption that has turned has made disappear the delights that architecture was giving, with a porch, with a gallery, with a place that the breeze passes. Now we are all closed, no? Like now, for example, if this was well designed, maybe we wouldn't need the air conditioning running, okay? And maybe we could have some air flowing, and probably you would be much more comfortable, okay? So this is a small project in Barcelona, a house, an extension of a house. And what we do is that, okay, guys, we are in the Mediterranean. We are in a north orientation under a beautiful ficus. So maybe what we can do is a room that is outside, a room that doesn't have a roof, but that actually is the main center, the most important room in the house, okay? This is the existing condition. These guys, actually what they asked us is that, hey, we don't have a living room because this is what they have here. This couldn't be called a living room. They said, we need a living room. And we said, okay, instead of putting the living room outside, what we will do is to move the kitchen outside. Okay, the kitchen goes to the patio. And they also wanted a small studio. They asked for many things. But basically what we do is to wrap this outer space, and by wrapping it in a certain way, what we do is that these movements of the wall allow the studio to have space, the kitchen to be able to be entered, etc. And this is made by a greenhouse that actually, as it's in a patio that the sun never hits because it's to north and there are high buildings around, what you get is that this greenhouse is not hot as it would be if it was in a different orientation. Okay? So this is something that you can do because of the orientation of the house. In another position, it would be horrible because it would be too hot. And this is the patio outside, okay, with the connection. The good thing is that it's a patio, a living room, a room outside in connection with the kitchen, with the studio, with the living room, with the dining, with all the spaces. And then there is this bar that is very important, this bar here, that it's the one that actually, these guys are friends of ours. Always when we go there, you end up in the bar with a beer. I mean, that's the logical way to end. You're just there talking with the person who is cooking, and you can be inside, outside, having a conversation, and that's good. In winter, you also want to go to the bar, okay? But then you have this radiator just under you that allows you to have some heat, okay? And actually, this radiator, for us, it was like, well, this is a kind of these internal things that maybe we shouldn't tell, but it's a kind of our own way to add one more step in the history of radiators. Okay, very humble. I mean, you don't want to compare with this, but we all know the Wittgenstein radiator, no, in the corner. Then the people from here, from Barcelona, we all know the Sostras radiator in this house in the outskirts of Barcelona. That it's a radiator that what it's doing is somehow defining the entrance and making you turn and not allowing to go till the end. And the radiators of Miralles, these radiators that actually they are the legs for the benches where you sit. When you sit, then you have the hot air, etc., which is actually something that is taken very much from the Beaux-Arts tradition of these sofas that had the radiator incorporated inside. And then we painted with this red to say that, hey, I'm a radiator, that I know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing a job here. Okay. Well, and these are the spaces. Well, view from the kitchen when you are in the bar. It's more the atmosphere from the living room, looking out, dining, and living. Okay, on growth. How am I in time? What time is it?
55.
Super. 25 minutes. Okay, on growth. This is a project that actually second time we explain it, but it's not yet in our website. You won't find it. Okay, it will soon be. It's an extension of a house also north of Barcelona. This is a very beautiful book that, it's about the traditional rural houses in Catalonia, okay, that are called masies. Okay, a masia is kind of a manor house, okay, in Catalonia, and it's with photographs of Francesc Catalarroca, that it's one of the best photographers that we had in this country. Okay, and this is a house in a small village called Fumigueras. This is the village, very small. This is the position of the house here, almost at the outskirts, but still inside the village. And here the thing was that there was already a house that existed, a horrible house from 2005. From 2005, a house that was somehow trying to be old when actually it's like, hey, come on, you're not faking anybody. I mean, you are just horrible, and that's it, right? And the client asked us to extend it. And what basically the main house more or less was this, okay, not exactly, but then we extended to the right, and then we applied a series of pieces that somehow recall in a very secret and pervert way to the way masias grow in time. Masias, okay, these manor houses, they used to be just one single piece, one single space with three naves, okay, that's a traditional, typical one. And through centuries, when they needed something, we need a place for, I don't know, later on, for example, for the horses. Boom. Then they plugged different pieces without thinking very much, but no, thinking a lot in their own way, not thinking in the aesthetics of what will come, which is actually not very important, but thinking on how to solve problems of climate, of direction, so that the hay can come in easily, etc., etc. Okay? And that makes that many masias in this country are a kind of collage of different pieces that have gone to a basic structure. And this is exactly what we do, okay? This is the house. There was already an existing swimming pool, which you will see that we don't touch, okay? The swimming pool stays there, and the new structures, they just happen to go over it as if they didn't notice, okay? So this is the result of the house once finished. But the idea is basically to have the main house, okay, this first part was existing, the main house as one volume, and then having all these plugins, the porch, that actually the porch in this climate and to the south, this is the main place of the house. I mean, this is the living room, and it's the kitchen, and it's the siesta place, and it's the party place, it's everything. This is the barbecue, but maybe like this. This is the morning canopy for having breakfast next to the kitchen in a place of the house where the sun doesn't hit yet. And that's the porch of the entrance, okay, for the garage and also for the main entrance. And this is the result, okay? This is the porch that has a rhythm, has a way of being, okay, like the plugins in the old manor houses. I am like this. I mean, don't make me be different. And then when the porch finds the swimming pool, well, there is one leg that goes to the swimming pool, which may seem stupid again, no? May seem that, okay, what's happening, no? The l'utilità dell'inutile, but this leg that goes there allows to have a space here that is one of the best spaces in the house, because you can be with your feet in the water. You can even take a chair and put it to the water. You're there reading, okay, enjoying life, the breathe, and it's like, oh, how good that I have so much money that I can pay this house. Okay. But anyway, I mean, lucky them, right? Okay, so it's all about, well, basically about designing this porch, and then this porch, you see that it has couriers or special handrail that somehow is in dialogue. It's this one, it's made with bricks that usually you would put them, of course, logically, horizontally. In this case, they are put vertically so that you get this lightness, you allow the water to go under it and to somehow get out of the terrace. But basically what we are doing is establishing a dialogue with a neighbor that is a real, old, powerful manor house, like this is the house of the village. This is the king, okay, I'm just here, the servant, okay. But there is a dialogue in materiality, in repetition, in defining the end of the house. And then with this as well, again, these unexpected little twists, we like to call them, that may seem, may seem useless, but that they somehow protect from the sun. And in the night, when you are in your room and you want to go out for a cigarette or whatever, you have this lamp that it's giving you this warm light because of the color. And then, well, inside this is I won't go into that, but there are many tricks inside. This is the main bedroom, with a double space behind you because there is a studio, okay? Here there are two studios, then this is a hall that goes to the library, the somehow secret library of the guy, because he's a guy who has a lot of books. I mean, this is nothing, it's full of books in the house here in Barcelona and the house there. And he loves music and he smokes pipe. I mean, the perfect image of good life. Yeah, books, music, pipe. What else do you want? And this was his. He asked for a kind of a studio library. And then what we thought is that, hey, it would be good that your best books, the ones that are more precious to you, are on the highest end of the library, which means that actually they are next to your bed. Okay, they would be here and there. So when you are in the bed and you say, I need Lisa Heschong's Thermal Delight in Architecture, you just go pick it, okay, and go to bed. Well, and then some details that just on scale. What project was it? Oh, yeah. Okay, on scale. Well, here we bring Lutyens because young architects or young students of architecture or future students of architecture may not know Lutyens. For sure, nobody will talk of Lutyens in the university. But you should go into Lutyens because everything is there, okay? And especially on scale, on allowing you or on making you feel distances and relationships in a different way, okay? So this is a very recent project that we just finished 1 month ago, 1.5. And this is a commission, it's an art commission from the National Museum of Catalonia, the big museum in Montjuïc, okay? This is the Barcelona pavilion, okay? Mies van der Rohe and Lily Reich. This is the stairs that go up, and that's the National Arts Museum of Catalonia. And in here there are two big spaces. The main hall, that is this one, and then there is a very high cupola, that it's this one that has 40 meters high, okay, from here to the frescoes, that was painted by an artist, a Catalan artist in 1929 called Francesc Galí. Francesc Galí, it's not known by being the best artist in the world, okay? Let's face it. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't like superb. But he was a very good teacher, extremely good teacher. And actually many artists from Spain, like Miró, Artigas, and many others, when somebody asked them that, okay, who was your source of inspiration? Who made the change in your life? They all said Gali. Gali was like the person who changed my life. Okay, so now there was an exhibit, or there is an exhibition on Gali right now in the museum, and the museum commissioned us a piece of art that somehow allowed people to establish a relationship with the cupola, because the cupola is painted by Gali, it was painted as this one, and there are these frescoes, and the problem is that the space is so vertical that many people pass by and nobody looks up, because you have to really, make an effort. It's nothing obvious, okay? And many people pass by and they haven't ever noticed that there are these frescoes up there. So they said, okay, what can you do, okay? And then we did the following. Gali, to paint these frescoes, he was for 6 months in this, precarious scaffolding, painting there. I don't know how he didn't fall. You see that safety is not the best thing here. And painting these frescoes, and then there is a sentence by Gali that was the key thing for this piece that we did. That is that he used to do an exercise to his students that they went to nature to paint. Okay, and they usually went to the Montseny, that it's a mountain that is close to Barcelona. But he always said to his students, he said, go to the mountain, go to nature, be there for the whole day, but don't bring any brushes, don't bring any paintings, don't bring any tools, don't bring anything. Just go equipped with a crown of ice on your head. Right? That's what he said to Miro and to many others. Just bring a crown of ice, which means that just go, see and enjoy and get and grasp everything, and then when you go back to the studio, you start painting. Okay, so with this idea of a crown of ice on your head, what we did is to actually build that crown of ice, which is this one, with 16 eyes that refer to the 16 columns that support the cupola, and this crown of ice is just levitating, 6 meters high, just in the center of the space, in a somehow light way, in the same way that the scaffolding or the structure of Gali was just up there. Okay, and then the blue color comes from at the very top of the cupola. There is the sky, because here there is religion, work, arts, and science depicted. Okay, it's like four sections. But at the very top, the sky turns into this dark blue, very dark blue. That is the blue that we use for the crown, so that there is this relationship. And what happens is that people, when they cross nowadays, in Instagram, it's full, this is a horrible thing that everything seems to be, then everybody thinks that you think of things for Instagram, but it is a fact that people go there and they're all taking photos and seeing actually that there is a cupola there that is quite interesting. So there is a Miro painting also. Well, of course, people, they don't look up. When you pass by, there is this Miro and you just stay there. So I understand it. Okay, on color, another book that, this is fantastic. This you can write down. Okay, The Invention of Color, writers, The Invention of Color, Philip Ball, about the history of art related to how color was invented, okay, because colors were invented. There are colors in the history. There are colors that suddenly appear in Holland, in the 17th century. It's like, why is it that now all the painters are using this color? Well, it is because in Asia there was this discovery of this plant it's fabulous. Okay, but this is also a very recent project that actually it's not published yet, and we don't have it anywhere, but we finished some months ago. That it's the new cinema, like art cinema and auditorium for the Reina Sofia Museum in Madrid. Okay? And in this case, this is the space. Okay, here there used to be an auditorium that actually was designed by my father in the 80s. Okay, and this was the floor plan of that auditorium. But it was an auditorium. It wasn't a cinema, and that changes a lot of things, because in an auditorium you want the sound to bounce. Okay, to somehow be more powerful. In a cinema, it's the opposite. You don't want any reverberation. So This is the original project with this triangle, okay, that was leading people, etc. And this is the original photos from the 80s. It wasn't accessible for people with wheelchair, okay. The colors are very 80s pastel colors, very beautiful, okay. But the problem is that nowadays it was like this. I mean, they had been changing things, repainting, putting new floors, and they said, okay, we have to do something because this is every time worse and worse. And on the other hand, we want to turn it into a cinema. A cinema, basically what the client wanted is a black box. They said, okay, paint it all black, put all these foams that that they somehow capture sound, and that's it. And we thought, hey, wait a second. I mean, cinema should be much more than that. So what we did, this is the original plan. What we do is that we continue with this idea of the triangles, okay? You see this triangle that is floating here, that originally was to make the sound bounce, a little bit like the alto waves, okay, in Bipuri. We move it back. This was the translation. Well, we do some changes, okay, but basically working with the same features that were there, that it's these triangles. Then this is the section, okay? You see that we lift the floor so that everybody has a good view to the screen, etc. And then we think, okay, wait a second, they want a black box, but come on. I mean, we are in an old hospital, okay? This is the Sabatini Hospital. It's a museum. I mean, it's not a place that you just enter and there is nothing. There is no history. There is no past. And we thought, okay, what can we do? I mean, what can we do to somehow avoid the black box? And then we thought of the history of theaters, cinemas, etc. And of course, to our minds comes the Scandia Theatre in Stockholm that uses this red, okay, the red color in cinema, the typical red carpet from the Oscars. This comes from the Greek already, okay? It's a sign of welcome and of submission in a way. But Asplund, what he does is that this red, he covers it with the blue, with the dark, intense blue that actually was the night. It's the sky. Okay, in Asplund, the sky is crucial all the time. Okay, also in the library. Okay, the roof of the library also is an idea of the sky. Actually, in his drawings, this sky was full of little white lamps that were the stars. Okay, and the idea was that you were under the starry night. Okay, watching a movie. So the red and the blue is a color that are colors that are very much related to cinema and to theaters, etc. And in Madrid, there is one of the oldest cinemas that is still running. It's the Cine Doré, that it's also using this, okay, the red and the blue. So what we did is basically to welcome, okay, if you see the floor plan, there is a first room that is a welcome hall, okay. We welcome people with this red, okay, the red carpet, the red that says that you are welcome, and with these velvet curtains, okay. And then when you enter, when you open them, you start to see not the starry night, but the blue sky. If you look backwards, then you have the main entrances, okay, which we keep. We have these windows. These are the old windows of the hospital that were closed a long time ago. And we keep the wood as it is, okay, with these little holes that allow also the sound to be compressed. And we add this golden material at the end that with light inside makes that there is another color that is the gold that mediates between the red and the blue. Okay, and then when you enter, the cinema is this one. Okay, in a way, in a very secret. Again, I like the word pervert. I mean, perversion is good as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. In our own pervert way, we thought that this was, in a way, a deconstruction of a temple. Okay, this is the base. Okay, these are the columns, and this is the pediment. Okay, and it's kind of floating, and you are somehow inside the temple, but at the same time you are under the sky, and you have and then this triangle that in the past was made in wood, painted wood, so that the sound would bounce. Now it's closed, and actually behind this triangle there are hidden all the loudspeakers that are sending all the sound to you. This is when you look backwards with old projection machines, because there are the new ones and the old ones, the columns to the sides, etc. And this is when the movie is on, okay? This this is, well, actually it's darker, but as you have to take a photo, it gets a little bit more light. Okay, and the last one, on historiography, which is also something that it's one of the themes that are usually in our conversations. Historiography is the written account of history, okay? It's somehow the way we explain history, because history, does history exist? Okay, I'm not going to get into that because it would be hours, but does history exist? I mean, that's actually, well, anyway, better that I don't start there. But, books like this one by Mark Wigley, The White Walls Design Addresses, are interesting because they are books that doubt on the written account of history that has been made till nowadays. In historiography in architecture, especially when we talk of the modern movement, there has been a lot of repeating the same things. The same examples, the same architects, the same names, because it seems that if Gideon, said it so many years ago, we have to, that's kind of the Bible and we have to follow it. And say, come on, he chose those examples because of the social context that maybe we should look at other examples, okay? So this is an installation we did, this is a bit older, 7 years ago, more or less, in the Barcelona pavilion, where what we did was to cover, well, first check, calculate, measure all the surfaces of the Barcelona pavilion, all of them, decide a material that wouldn't have reflections, super important, because the reflections are the very first material of the Barcelona pavilion. And that wouldn't have texture, so that we somehow could dress the pavilion, which this is a part of the installation, was the dressing that lasted around 5 days, okay, with these guys that they were doing it in a certain order that we set, respecting all the joints, of course. The joints of the pavilion, they stay there, that's very important, but the textures, the materiality, the exuberance, okay, because it's an exuberant pavilion, and actually all the articles of 1929 in the newspapers that talked of the pavilion, they didn't talk of modernity and fluidity and blah, blah, blah. They talked of how exuberant, how powerful these Germans are, that they are able to do glasses so big, reflections, stones that come from, who knows, Samarkand or wherever, okay? So, during 5 days, it's this process, blah, 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 till you get, again, this pervert space. That it's horrible and beautiful at the same time, okay? It's horrible because it destroys the pavilion, but hey, it's only for 10 days, don't worry. We got hate mails, guys. We got mails that, oh, you destroyed me. I said, hey, relax, But anyway, so this is how it stayed for 10 days. And I can tell you that the experience of walking in a space like that was very powerful. Everything changed. Okay, just by erasing the materiality of the pavilion, suddenly even the sound, okay, even the way you move inside was different. Okay, the pavilion is a building that traps people. I don't know if you have been there. You enter, and there is a moment that you get trapped as if you were in a whirlpool, okay, around the onyx wall. When the onyx wall is white as everything, and there is no onyx, there is no green marble, there is no travertine, there is no nothing, you are lost. Everything is the same, okay? So it changes all the relationships and everything. Okay, so this installation dealt with many issues, okay? I'm not going to go into it because we have a 1.5 hours lecture only of this project, okay? So I will try to shut up. But it dealt of ideas of materiality. This is the original pavilion, much brighter, by the way, much brighter than the reconstruction. It dealt with the idea of a chain of representations, okay, because this somehow could be understood as a one-to-one scale model, okay, which is a representation. A model is a representation of something. So a representation in a model of a building that is a reconstruction, which at the same time is a representation of a building that was the original, that was actually representing the German soul. Okay, so there is an addition of representations in this history of the pavilion. it also turned the pavilion into the way Mies explained his projects. Because Mies, this is one thing that I don't know if you have ever noticed, Mies never did an axonometric drawing. Wow, quite amazing. It was amazing to us. I mean, a guy who is somehow one of the super architects of the modern movement that, I don't know to you, but to me you say modern movement, I see an action. Okay? And he never drew an action, but okay, that's another thing. On imperfection, okay, the idea of imperfection as a positive value, okay, we value very much imperfection in our projects, but especially on historiography, and this is the thing that I will explain. The Barcelona Pavilion was somehow enthroned as an icon of the modern movement in this exhibition in 1932 in the MoMA, curated by Philip Johnson and Henry Russell Hitchcock, okay, and as good curators, good or typical curators, what you do when you curate an exhibition is that you want to set some, you want to explain some ideas, and you want to explain them very sharp, okay? So that you use the work of others to somehow explain a theory of yourself, okay? In this case, the theory was that the first modern movement was about basically, I make it very simple, but basically about fluidity of space, flat roofs, and whiteness, okay? And whiteness. And it's like, hey, come on, guys. I mean, and the projects that were chosen for this exhibition, okay, are projects by Wright, whiteness, right? I don't see it, okay? Guggenheim, okay, that's it. Gropius, Le Corbusier, Oud is exuberance of color. Oud is a Mondrian built in 3D, okay? It's red, it's blue, it's yellow, it's everything but white. Mies van der Rohe, Raymond Hood, Cohen Lescas, Neutra, and the Bowman brothers. So it's a mixture, it's a very strange mixture, actually. But when you show all that, 1932, in black and white pictures, my friend, and it's very easy, okay? Because if you choose the right pictures and you put them in black and white, it's very easy to sell the idea of whiteness. And then the later written account of history has bought this as if it was true. Oh yeah, modern movement is white. It's like, hey, stop. Even the Weissenhof, okay, in Stuttgart, it's full of colors. If you see the Le Corbusier buildings, one is the blue building and the other one is the pink building. They are not white, okay? But I don't know, we have this idea that no, modernity, the first modernity is white. Well, maybe not. So the exhibition or the installation is somehow a radical critique to this idea of historiography of repeating itself. And what we did is, okay, really? Is it white? Okay, let's make it white. Okay, let's turn the pavilion into what the exhibition said that it was. Okay, so let's make it all white. And when you make it all white, you kill it. You destroy it. Okay, which means that maybe modernity, even the first modernity that we all think it was white, or that they have sold that it was white, maybe it was. And maybe materiality was already a very key issue in there. At the end of the installation, what we did is that we gathered all the vinyls, we took all the vinyls from the pavilion. It was quite a magical moment because when you took the vinyls out, you can find some videos in YouTube or wherever, email. When you took the vinyls out, it was beautiful because you could see the drawing of the stones. So it was kind of a peeling, the peeling in your nose. No? You did like, never the Barcelona pavilion had been so clean. And then what we did is all these vinyls, we put them one on top of each other, we piled them, cut them, did these piles, okay, you see? Cut the edges, which meant, and we did this piece that now it's in the collection of the Mies van der Rohe Foundation. This is a piece, it's a ugly, disgusting, bad smelly, because it's plasticky, smelly, gluey, horrible volume that contains all the surfaces of the pavilion. All. I mean, the whole Barcelona pavilion, that it's a project that basically it's on the gliding of the walls, on surfaces, on planes, it's all stacked into this massive volume that is very heavy and that contains all those surfaces. That's it. Thank you.
So,
Do we do a pause? Do we
No,
finish
it's
straight
the
away?
one wants to make question.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Question. Well, please. Oh, thank you.
Hi, my name is Khan. Thank you for your friend. Actually, I have two questions. The first one is about the color. You already mentioned about the color that the cinema project. It was quite impressive, and I just wonder, do you always use those kind of color strategy when you do your project? Because the colors of your projects are beautiful. So I just wonder, is there any reason of using that color?
Look, yeah, no or yes, I don't know. And actually, in the first years of our practice, we somehow were very much defending the naturality of materials. Okay, and somehow I have the feeling we didn't get very much into it. I don't know, Anna, you can also help me. And we didn't, or we thought color was somehow an addition to something. And at that moment, we thought that, you shouldn't add. I mean, if you just have to choose the right material so that you don't have to add color. But later on, we thought that actually colors, we think of them as materials. I mean, sometimes, for example, sometimes you put a wooden mullion or a door or window, whatever, and to protect it, actually, it has always, many times it was painted so that you protect it and that it lasts longer. Once you have to paint, then, I mean, why you're always choosing just one color? Why can't you? And then suddenly you get an openness of possibilities that allow you to say different things with color. But wait a second, color is very difficult. With color you can destroy a building with color. I mean, actually, I know, I'm not going to say, but I know some projects in this city that they are very good, but suddenly at the last moment they choose the wrong color and it's like, come on, guy, you had it was perfect. It's very difficult. And we have theories, because, Anna has theories for everything. Okay, this is the thing. Anna theoretizes everything. I mean, whatever. You have, I don't know, boiling eggs, and there is a theory on how you should boil everything. And with color, actually, she has a theory. Okay, that we call it the theory of the third color, which is that when you deal with two main colors, which happens very often, okay, because you have kind of a bag and a figure, okay, that's very often that you are dealing with two basic colors. You always need a third one that highlights, that makes a puncture, that it's something small, and that allows to deal between one and the other. Otherwise, it's too rough. It's like A and B. Yeah, but we don't have, in a way, we don't have a theory on all the projects that, in all the projects we will work with color. No, actually, we end up using color because of, I don't know, many different reasons, but not because of a preconceived idea that we should use color. But it's true. Actually, we discovered, 10 years ago, it was a surprise to ourselves. Because somebody said, oh, you are very colorful. And we thought, that's really what and then we checked the project that we had been doing till then, and we were like, wow, it's true, we are. But we had not noticed, so we had not theoretized.
Yeah. I think that partly it is the recognition that color is very difficult, and then you kind of take that difficulty as a reto, as a challenge, and you try to kind of overcome that supposed difficulty that the architects have. I mostly still dress in black because of the difficulty of choosing choosing color. But in architecture, we kind of try to be a little bit more brave. And then there's another thing that if you look through the history of architecture, color is the poor man's tool, in a sense that paint is a cheap way to finish something. And then once you paint something, there is this choice. Do you paint it white? But as well as white, you could paint it yellow, whatever.
But there is always a very, very thought, reason on the colors. Always. I mean, we always have a specific, sometimes it's contextual, sometimes it's to highlight, sometimes, but there is always a reason. It's not like, oh, happiness. No, no. Color is not happy, actually. Color is very serious. Yeah, and you said that you had another one?
Thank you. And my second question is about, it's quite two practical things, but about the project, what was the name? The kitchen outside, the patio. I just wonder if, wasn't there any like practical issues about regulation or things like that, like such as like PCR or FAR, because it's a very abnormal shape of the housing. So
About regulations, you mean by
because
adding a building
Right,
outside? Yeah, absolutely. It's in the very let's say limit of legality, but it's a light structure. Okay, it's a light structure that theoretically could be demountable. Okay, and that's what makes it possible to have a structure in your in your garden. Because in theory, you couldn't do that. Yeah.
I just wonder how it could like.
Well, by walking in the very thin line between legal and illegal, you know,
Got it.
and trying to find the right reasons to be able to do it. Reasons and also strategies. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to ask more about you.
Can you speak louder, please?
Yeah, I want to ask about the methodology when you first get the brief and how do you like approach where do you start? What's the starting point when approaching each one?
We try to ask for a very specific part of the clients, especially there are different kinds of.
Because I think that there they want.
Yeah. So there are very different kinds of clients or very different kinds of projects or situations. On one hand, you have professional clients that do it for their living and they are kind of the easy ones. And then there are the private clients that they are doing the house of their lives and they are the first time in that situation. So then the situation is very different for us also. So just one note on that private client that is on the first moment and then on our way of dealing with all kinds of situations. The private client, we ask them for a very specific way of giving the brief, which is don't tell us the spaces that you need or the characteristics of the spaces, tell us how you want to live. And then we try to interpret. This is the way we deal with private clients. But our way of doing projects is that we enjoy very much the conversation between each other. To be honest, normally Eugeni is kind of a machine of stupid, quick ideas. Sometimes so stupid that they are even smart. So normally it is this kind of thing of throwing ideas and then starting to test them and push them. And I have normally that role of being the inquisitor and kind of questioning the viability or the profundity or the sense of these ideas, but it's kind of a ping pong game that once it starts, then it goes back and forth. And to tell the truth also, normally it is very quick. Normally it is a one-day thing for the basic strategy or concepts or something. And I think that partly it is because we're starting to be a little bit old. So we have an intuition that has learned a lot already. So we can kind of pay attention to these, like I say, stupid ideas. Because the stupid, quick ideas, they often have a long history, a long conversation, a long reason to be. So they pop up, like the Miss Van der Rohe Pavilion project. It was a 5 minutes idea. And this happens because you already have thought and worked a lot. So I think that we are in the kind of the good thing in getting old is that kind of get smarter all the time, and now we are kind of collecting the fruits. Then you also get a little bit slow and strange and stuff like that. But anyway, there are some good things to look forward in your future. So don't be scared of growing.
Yeah.
I have a question about the materials, like used in your buildings. Like, you use a lot of colors. I would like to know if the materials of the buildings are like on continuity on the site you build in, or it's something like it's not that important since you cover it with colors or stuff like that.
The whole thing is going very much into color, and I still don't think that we use it so much. Now, okay, because yeah, it's true. Well, the cinema in the Reina Sofia, it is about that, yeah, but it is about many other. Okay? I mean, we could explain the Reina Sofia project without talking only of sound, for example, or I don't know, many other things. Yeah, color is not to cover. Color is not to hide. Usually we use materials that they are what they are, but some they are colored. Perfect. And it's only when we need to use a layer of something because the material needs it, that then we say, okay, now that we are somehow forced to use paint in a way, let's think very deeply how we do it. Right? It's not just go and cover it with whichever color. I don't know, but now I'm thinking which, for example, of Giraldo lot, the boulevard in lot, okay? The colors are the ones that things have. The color of the granite, it's snow, the basalt, whatever.
But maybe there is also a relationship between kind of the bigger the thing, the more long-lasting the thing, whatever. Kind of you maybe you kind of are more careful with the use of color, and you go to a more neutral aspect. Like, for example, the I don't know the latest project of the Crown of Ice. It's bright blue because it's just a kind of a ring, kind of a detailed thing, and it is in a way it is to signal a thing. So there is very kind of clear need to. But if we had to deal with the whole museum, I doubt that it would have the same blue. You know. So I think that color is great for highlighting or for marking things. And then there is a huge variety of materials and options, and often materials and the materiality that is very interesting for us. But also often it is a question of resources, possibilities, budget, these kind of issues, or the proximity or things like that. And then the paint is somehow the universal highlighting.
Maybe a small question, because you have such a variety of different scales. Do you have a preparation for something like, yeah?
The bigger the better. I mean, we have a kind of the ingenuity of taking all the projects very close to our hearts, working a lot. But if you think of our profession as a way to bring bread to your table, the bigger the better. The small projects they're like a fun thing. It's great hobby. It's we have a lot of fun, but on our cost enough, almost. So in a sense, we should think the bigger the better, but we fail. So, yeah, I don't know if that's
At least we have fun with everything.
Thank you so much for the lecture. I like how you started off by talking about time and also doubt. So I was wondering, how do you navigate or grapple with doubt? How do you make decisions?
Let's see. Yeah, I said that we doubt a lot. There was an architect, well, there is, poor guy, it's not that here. There is an architect here in Barcelona that once told me that we are paid for doubting. Okay? Actually, a client comes to you and says, hey, I don't know how to do this. I pay you, theoretically, okay? I pay you to be able to doubt on things, to finally get to a solution. Okay? And we do that a lot. We doubt a lot. We are not sure of many things. And I think that it's very healthy that we are not sure of everything. And we decide many things, during the work side. And we do projects that sometimes there are some things that are open as much as we can, because every time it's more and more difficult, so that we can finally decide them once we are seeing the whole thing and maybe we change. Yeah, I mean, doubting is very healthy. And actually, we need time to think. And I said, we are very quick. It's true, we are very quick. Let's see, once we know what we want to do, we are very quick and say, okay, and we have it. Okay. But we are very slow in producing. And in the previous thoughts to get to that moment that, now we have it. And clients think that everything is for tomorrow. And actually, we lose a lot of clients. A lot. Too many maybe, because we have one meeting, the very first meeting that we do with our clients, we call it the meeting of the bad news, okay? Where we explain to the possible future client that we are slow, okay, that what he wants or she wants to do, it's more expensive than what she thought, okay, and many, they run away, we don't see them anymore, okay, because they think that with just some, I don't know, a couple of €1,000, and in 2 weeks they will have a great house. It's like, I mean, no, I'm sorry. We need time to think, we need time to produce, to doubt, to go back, to change, and maybe in 3 months or in 6 months, you will be able to have a project that we can start building. And they are like, oh, really? What? I thought that it was 1 week. No, I'm sorry. So, I mean, we have to defend our right of doubting, because if you don't doubt, I mean, ideas don't come like that.
And we have to defend the value of doubting, so that we are in fact doubting for our client. So we are doing all that thinking in a way. That's what we could be paid for. Often you're paid for something else, but yeah. But basically, how we deal with it is that we try to have a process and a confidence with the clients, so that this is understood, or we have the strategies of the drawing or whatsoever to kind of keep things bit open. And then we are also lucky because in Spain you can still decide things in the construction site. So it is a system that is not so super close, in a sense that you would already know exactly everything in the moment that you win a competition. It's somehow allowed also, some of that.